The truth arrived quietly, not with noise or chaos, but with the kind of realization that changes a person from the inside out. They had spent so much time believing they understood you that they never stopped to consider they were only seeing the surface. In their mind, you were someone who would always remain close, always forgive, always stay within reach, no matter how carelessly they handled your heart. They believed your loyalty was permanent, your patience endless, and your love something they would always have access to whenever they decided to return to it. But life has a way of revealing truth when people least expect it, and the moment clarity finally reached them, it felt less like discovery and more like waking up after losing something priceless. Suddenly, every memory became heavier. Every moment they brushed aside your feelings returned with sharper meaning. Every time you stood beside them with sincerity, while they remained distracted by pride or uncertainty, now replays in their mind with painful honesty. They finally understand that your presence was never ordinary. You carried warmth into spaces they didn't even realize were cold. You brought peace into parts of their life that had been restless long before you arrived, and now that you are distant, they are beginning to feel the silence left behind in ways they cannot ignore. For the first time, they are no longer remembering you casually, they are remembering you carefully. They think about the way you listened when nobody else truly heard them. They think about how safe your energy felt, how genuine your intentions were, and how rare it was to find someone who loved without playing games or demanding masks. They once mistook your kindness for simplicity. They assumed your heart would wait forever. But now, they see the truth they avoided for too long. People like you do not appear often in life. You were not just another connection passing through their story. You were the person who made them feel understood without needing explanations. And now, that realization sits with them during the quietest parts of the night, when there are no distractions left to protect them from their own thoughts. There is a certain kind of pain that comes from losing something valuable after finally understanding its worth. That is where they are now, not trapped in anger, not consumed by bitterness, but standing face to face with regret. They replay conversations differently now. Words they once ignored suddenly carry meaning. Moments they once rushed through now feel sacred in hindsight. They remember the times you showed up for them, even when you were hurting yourself. They remember your patience during their confusion, your loyalty during their distance, your love during seasons when they offered very little in return. And somewhere deep inside, they are realizing that you gave them something they may never find again. Not perfection, but sincerity. Not fantasy, but real love. The kind of love that asks for honesty, growth, and presence instead of empty promises. The hardest part for them is understanding that you did not leave loudly. You did not destroy everything on your way out. You simply became quieter, more distant, more careful with your energy. And now they understand why. They understand that even the purest hearts eventually grow tired of being overlooked. They see now that your silence was not weakness, nor manipulation, nor pride. It was exhaustion. It was the sadness of loving deeply while feeling unseen in return. And realizing this has forced them to confront themselves in ways they never expected. They cannot blame timing anymore. They cannot blame circumstances. Deep down, they know the truth is much simpler and much harder to accept. They failed to appreciate someone who genuinely cared for them. Now your absence follows them into ordinary moments. A song reminds them of you unexpectedly. A quiet evening becomes unbearable because your voice no longer fills it. They find themselves searching for your energy in conversations with other people, only to realize no one else carries the same warmth you did. They thought moving on would feel easy. They thought time would erase the depth of your connection. Instead, time has only sharpened their awareness of what they lost. The spaces you once occupied in their life are still there, untouched, impossible to replace, and no matter how much they try to distract themselves, your memory continues returning with honesty they can no longer avoid. They finally understand that you were never asking for impossible things. You only wanted consistency, respect, effort, presence. You wanted to feel chosen instead of tolerated. You wanted reassurance instead of confusion. You wanted love that felt safe rather than uncertain. And now they realize how often you carried the emotional weight of the relationship alone while still trying to protect their feelings. They remember the moments your eyes looked disappointed, even when your words remained gentle. They remember how often you forgave things that should have been addressed earlier. They remember how much grace you extended simply because you believed in the connection. Looking back now, they are beginning to understand that your strength was never loud. It was quiet endurance, quiet loyalty, quiet hope. What unsettles them most is recognizing that they may have met the right person during a time when they were still emotionally unprepared. That realization follows them everywhere now, because it is one thing to lose someone after fighting for them fully. It is another thing entirely to lose someone because fear, pride, or emotional immaturity prevented you from showing up correctly. They know now that you deserved certainty, not hesitation. You deserved honesty, not mixed signals. You deserved to feel valued while you were still standing beside them, not only after you became distant. And carrying that awareness has changed the way they see themselves. There are moments when they try to convince themselves they can forget you. They tell themselves, life moves on, people change, memories fade, but then something small brings you back into focus again. A familiar phrase, a certain time of night, a place that suddenly feels emptier than before. And all at once, the truth returns. You mattered more than they admitted. You touched their life more deeply than they allowed themselves to recognize at the time. Your love left an imprint that cannot simply be replaced by distraction or time. They also understand something now that they refused to admit before. Your value never depended on whether someone recognized it immediately. You were always worthy of deep love, careful treatment, and genuine appreciation. Their inability to fully see you at the right time did not reduce your importance. If anything, losing you became the lesson that finally forced them to confront how rare your presence truly was. Some people only understand the light someone carried after darkness returns to their own life. And that is the reality they are facing now. They are seeing clearly for the first time, but clarity arrived after distance had already formed between you. Even so, there is something deeply human about this realization. People often believe they have endless time to love better tomorrow. They postpone vulnerability. They delay honesty. They assume meaningful connections will patiently wait until they are ready. But life does not always offer second chances in the way people expect. Sometimes the lesson arrives only after someone has already started healing without you. Sometimes growth begins in the exact moment a person realizes they took genuine love for granted. And perhaps that is where they are now, standing in the uncomfortable space between regret and awakening. Meanwhile, you have been changing too, quietly, slowly. You have been learning how to protect your peace instead of constantly proving your worth. You have been understanding that love should not require you to shrink yourself just to make someone else comfortable. You have been rebuilding the parts of yourself that felt neglected while waiting for someone else to finally choose you correctly. And whether they realize it fully or not, your growth is part of what shakes them so deeply now, because they can sense the difference. They can feel that your energy no longer revolves around waiting to be appreciated. You are becoming stronger in your absence, calmer in your distance, and more aware of your own value than ever before. That realization changes everything for them. It forces them to confront the possibility that they may not simply be able to return whenever they decide they are ready. It makes them understand that hearts are not temporary shelters people can abandon and reclaim at convenience. Real love requires care while it exists, not apologies after damage has already been done. And this understanding humbles them in ways nothing else could. They finally see that your heart was never something ordinary to hold casually. It was sacred in its honesty, rare in its patience, beautiful in its sincerity. Now they sit with thoughts they once avoided. They wonder what would have happened if they had loved you more openly. They wonder whether things could have been different if they had chosen vulnerability sooner instead of waiting until distance created consequences. They think about the future they once assumed would always remain possible, and suddenly it no longer feels guaranteed. That uncertainty stays with them, not because they want to control you, but because they are realizing your absence is real. The connection they once treated carelessly is no longer fully within reach, and that truth has transformed the way they see everything. Still, beneath all the regret and reflection, there is another truth quietly forming. Love is not only about realizing someone's value after losing them. Love is also about growth, accountability, and becoming honest enough to face the parts of yourself that once operated from fear. Whether or not paths reconnect in the future, this realization has already changed them. You became the mirror that forced them to see what they avoided within themselves. You showed them the difference between temporary attention and genuine emotional presence. You taught them that real connection cannot survive on assumptions alone. And perhaps that lesson will remain with them forever. As the night grows quieter and their thoughts become impossible to outrun, they continue returning to the same realization again and again. You were never difficult to love. You were simply waiting to be loved correctly. And now, with every memory replaying through their mind, they understand the depth of what stood before them all along. Not someone ordinary, not someone temporary, but someone whose heart carried loyalty, warmth, and truth in a world where those things have become increasingly rare. And whether life reunites you or keeps your paths apart, one thing has become impossible for them to deny anymore. Losing someone genuine changes a person forever, especially when they realize the value of that love only after it has already slipped beyond their reach. You were their destiny in human form, and they broke their alignment by pushing you away. Now, every heartbeat is a reminder of the mistake they can't undo, the chance they can't rewind, and the love they can't replace. Stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal next is something they never wanted anyone to know. When they discovered your truth, it hit them harder than any confrontation, any argument, any goodbye. It hit them where it hurts most, their spirit. They realized your silence wasn't distance, it was protection. Your absence wasn't punishment, it was evolution. And now they are sitting alone, scrolling through old messages, searching for a sign that they haven't completely lost what the universe gave them. But deep down, the fear pressing against their ribs tells them the truth. They waited too long to understand your value. In the late hours of the night, they whisper words you will never hear, words filled with regret and longing. They clutch their chest because the pain feels physical, as if destiny itself is reminding them of every moment they dismissed your worth. They now understand something powerful. You were not the one who needed proof, they were the one who needed awakening. And this awakening came like lightning, too sudden, too strong, too undeniable. Their heart is struggling to keep up with the truth their soul already recognized, and that conflict is tearing them apart from the inside. There is a moment they will never forget, when someone told them something about you that froze their entire world. The way people speak your name has changed. The way energy shifts when you enter a space has changed. The way destiny protects you has changed. They finally learned that you are rising, transforming, stepping into a version of yourself that even they never believed possible. And that realization has turned their regret into a storm. They cannot breathe properly because now they know you are becoming the person they always needed, but didn't know how to treasure. And nothing hurts more than knowing they might not be written in your future chapters. Stay with me, because things are about to get even more intense. Their chest pain isn't just emotional. It's the weight of 1,000 unspoken apologies, 1,000 missed opportunities, 1,000 moments where they should have chosen you but didn't. Now, as they watch you grow into the truth of who you are, they feel something collapsing within them, not out of jealousy, not out of anger, but out of pure, soul-deep realization that they lost something rare, something divine, something they may never find again. The universe has made the truth clear, and their heart is paying the price. My beloved child, their world has begun to collapse in ways they never imagined, and every collapse leads back to one truth. You were the turning point their destiny offered, and they didn't know how to hold it. The moment they uncovered who you truly are, the pain didn't stay in their chest. It spread like a shockwave through their entire life. They can't eat without feeling your absence. They can't sleep without hearing your name echoing in the quiet. They can't move through their day without being reminded of the truth they fought so hard to avoid. You were the blessing they mishandled, the miracle they misjudged, the soul they lost while chasing shadows. Something inside them is breaking, and it's not because you walked away. It's because they finally understand why destiny lifted you out of their hands. They now see the depth you carried, the strength you hid, the light they took for granted. And every heartbeat hits like a warning. You won't get another chance at this. Their chest tightens because the universe is mirroring their mistake back at them. Their body responds to what their spirit already knows. Your truth is too powerful to ever be ignored again. There's a moment from your past that keeps replaying in their mind, a small moment that meant nothing to them then, but means everything now. The way you looked at them with sincerity, the way you showed up when no one else did, the way you protected their heart even while yours was breaking. They realize now that you were loving them from a place they couldn't reach, couldn't understand, couldn't appreciate at the time. And that realization has become a wound they cannot escape, a pressure inside their chest that refuses to let go. Someone recently told them something about you that left them stunned. They didn't just learn who you are, they learned who you are becoming, and that truth hit them like lightning. You are stepping into a phase of your life where your value is no longer hidden, where your presence is no longer overlooked, where your energy is no longer dismissed. You are becoming the person they always needed but didn't have the maturity to honor, and the weight of realizing this too late is suffocating them. They can't believe the same soul they underestimated is now the soul everyone else is drawn toward. They don't know how to process this version of you, the version that doesn't wait, doesn't chase, doesn't shrink for anyone. The version destiny is elevating while they stand still, breathless, watching you rise higher than their imagination ever allowed. Their chest pain is the result of awakening too late, loving too late, understanding too late. And as they watch your truth unfold, their heart whispers the one thing they never said when it mattered. You were the one. But now the universe has placed distance between you, and that distance is choking them with every breath they take. My beloved child, the truth is hitting them harder tonight than it ever has before, and the pressure in their chest keeps rising because every revelation about you is dismantling the walls they built to survive without you. They finally understand that you were never just a person crossing their path. You were the shift destiny sent to transform their entire life. And now that they know who you truly are, their heart feels too small to hold the magnitude of that truth. They keep placing their hand over their chest, trying to calm the storm inside, but nothing helps because the realization is too big, too powerful, too late. And as they struggle to breathe through the weight of everything they ignored, one thought keeps pulsing through them like lightning. How did I ever let someone like you slip away? Your silence is louder than any words you could speak. It stretches across their days, haunts their nights, and wraps itself around every heartbeat. They scroll through memories, hoping to find a version of you that still belongs to them. But what they see instead is the version of you the world is recognizing now. Strong, rising, chosen. And the fear gripping their chest is the fear of watching you become everything they once dreamed of standing beside, but never worked hard enough to deserve. Before this story continues, take a moment to stay with this message, share it if it resonates deeply, and keep watching, because the next truth will shake you even more. Someone recently spoke about you in a room they were never supposed to hear from, and the words crashed into them like a tidal wave. They heard about your growth, your glow, the opportunities forming around you, the way people admire you now, the way life is aligning for you in ways even they never expected. And instead of feeling happy, prideful, or hopeful, their chest began to burn with a pain they couldn't hide. Because now they've seen with their own eyes what destiny had been trying to show them all along. You were never becoming special. You always were. They just weren't ready to see it. Every missed chance is now a wound. Every moment they hesitated is now a scar. Every time they thought you would wait is now a weight they can no longer carry. They try distracting themselves, burying the truth under work, noise, conversations, anything to escape the reality that chases them through every room. But no matter where they go, the same thought hits them again and again. Everyone sees your worth except the one who needed to see it first. Their heart races whenever someone mentions your name, because your transformation is undeniable, unstoppable, unrepeatable. They fear the world will embrace you faster than they can apologize, that someone else will value you in the way they should have from the very beginning. And with every passing day, the ache in their chest grows stronger, because the universe is revealing a truth that leaves them helpless. You are rising beyond their reach. Before this moment ends, hold on to this message, let it stay with you, and if it struck your heart, share it forward, because the next part of this truth is going to pierce even deeper. Their chest pain is not physical, it's destiny, pressing down on them with the weight of everything they failed to appreciate. They now understand why nothing feels right, why every path seems heavy, why their heart refuses to settle. It's because their soul knows what their mind denied. You were the alignment they prayed for but never honored. And now, as you step into your power, they are being forced to witness the beauty they weren't brave enough to cherish before fate removed you from their hands forever. My beloved child, tonight, their soul is trembling in a way they can no longer hide, because the truth about you isn't just echoing in their mind anymore, it's shaking the very foundation of their spirit. The chest pain they're feeling isn't about the past, and it isn't about losing you. It's about the moment they finally understood who you are, what you carry, and why your absence has turned their entire world cold. They didn't just lose a person, they lost a divine connection, a once-in-a-lifetime energy, a destiny-crafted bond that the universe rarely writes twice. And now, every breath they take feels like a punishment for not recognizing the miracle standing right in front of them. They look at themselves in the mirror and don't see the person they used to be. They see someone haunted by regret, someone who realized too late that the universe had placed something extraordinary in their hands, and they weren't ready to hold it. Their chest tightens because they can't escape the truth anymore. Your glow wasn't ordinary, your love wasn't temporary, and your presence wasn't replaceable. The moment they learned what destiny has planned for you, their entire body reacted, because deep inside, they know they should have been by your side for the journey you're stepping into now. Instead, they're forced to watch from a distance as you rise into the version of yourself that terrifies them with its brilliance. They are living with a fear they don't talk about, a fear that someone else will recognize your worth the way they should have from the beginning. They imagine someone standing beside you, matching your energy, supporting your growth, cherishing the heart they mishandled. And that image sends a shock through their chest that leaves them breathless for minutes at a time. They never thought they could lose you permanently. They thought you would always be in reach, always be waiting, always be the one who forgave. But destiny has shifted the energy. You're no longer waiting, you're evolving, and that evolution is breaking them apart in silence. The people around them have noticed the change. They walk differently, they speak less, they zone out in conversations because their mind keeps drifting back to you. Someone recently asked them if they're okay, and they forced a smile, but inside, their chest was burning because nothing feels okay anymore. The truth they discovered about you has rewritten their entire understanding of what they lost. They now know why they always felt drawn to you, why they couldn't forget you even when they tried, why no one else could fill the space you left behind. It's because you weren't just a person, they were connected to your soul. And now that they know the truth, that connection feels like a wound that refuses to heal. In the quiet hours, when the world has gone still, they place their hand over their heart as if trying to calm something wild inside them. But nothing calms it, because the truth of who you are keeps rising like a tidal wave, unstoppable, undeniable, uncontainable. They are suffering, not because they miss you, but because they finally understand the depth of what they were gifted and the depth of what they lost. And as destiny keeps elevating you, their regret keeps tightening around their chest, like a reminder that some truths come only once, and once missed, they never return in the same form again. My beloved child, the universe is confronting them with a truth they can no longer outrun, and that truth is crushing their chest with a weight they never imagined they would feel. The moment they discovered who you truly are, something inside them didn't just break, it collapsed. Their breath catches every time they think of you, because the universe is replaying the same message over and over in their spirit. You were the one they were meant to build with, grow with, rise with, and they let you slip through their fingers. Now every heartbeat feels like a reminder of the destiny they mishandled and the love they misread. They wake up in the middle of the night, with their chest tight, reaching for their phone, tempted to search for your presence anywhere, your name, your picture, your energy, hoping the universe might give them one last glimpse of what they lost. But the more they learn about the person you're becoming, the more the pain intensifies. What hurts the most about losing someone is rarely the ending itself. It is the realization that comes afterward, the quiet understanding that settles in too late, when the distance has already grown too wide to cross. Sometimes people do not recognize the value of another person while they are standing right in front of them. They notice it only after the silence arrives, after the calls stop, after the connection they once relied on slowly becomes a memory they can no longer reach. That is the kind of truth weighing heavily on their heart now. They are beginning to understand your worth in a way they never allowed themselves to before, and that understanding carries a kind of sadness they cannot easily escape. For a long time, They thought they had more time to figure themselves out, more time to come back, more time to explain the things they never had the courage to say properly. But life has a way of moving forward while people hesitate. Growth does not wait for someone to become ready. It continues unfolding quietly, day after day, until one morning, the person they once overlooked has transformed into someone stronger, wiser, and impossible to ignore. That is the version of you they see now, not the version they were comfortable with, not the version they assumed would always remain available to them. They see the version of you that learned how to survive disappointment, protect your peace, and carry yourself with quiet confidence, even after being underestimated. The truth is, they never expected your absence to feel this loud. They thought distance would make things easier. They thought eventually they would move on, settle their emotions, and continue life as though your presence had never mattered as deeply as it did. But instead, your absence became something they noticed everywhere, in quiet moments, in conversations that lacked depth, in rooms filled with people who could not understand them the way you once did, without effort. They tried distracting themselves with noise, routines, and temporary connections, but none of it filled the space your energy left behind. Some people are unforgettable not because they try to be, but because they leave a permanent mark on the people who encounter them. You became that kind of memory in their life. Now they hear your name in conversations they never expected. They see people admire your strength, your growth, your ambition, your calmness. And every compliment spoken about you feels bittersweet to them, because deep down they know they witnessed those qualities long before anyone else did. The difference is they failed to appreciate them while they still had access to your heart. Others are beginning to recognize the value they once took for granted, and that realization forces them to confront a difficult truth about themselves. They understand now that love is not only about feelings. It is also about effort, consistency, and emotional maturity. Caring for someone means showing up while they are still beside you, not realizing their importance only after they have walked away. There are nights when they sit alone replaying old memories in their mind, searching for moments they wish they could relive differently. Small conversations suddenly carry enormous weight. Simple gestures now feel priceless. They remember your patience during times they were emotionally unavailable. They remember how you tried to understand them even when they struggled to understand themselves. They remember how safe your presence felt, how your loyalty remained steady even when circumstances became difficult. Those memories return to them unexpectedly, and each one leaves behind a quiet ache they cannot explain to anyone else. The hardest part for them is realizing you are no longer waiting. You are no longer standing still hoping they will become the person you once believed they could be. Life continued shaping you while they remained caught in their own confusion, and now they watch from a distance as you slowly step into a new chapter of your life with strength they did not fully recognize before. They see someone becoming more comfortable in their own skin, more certain of their boundaries, more protective of their peace. They see someone who no longer seeks validation from people incapable of giving genuine love. And while part of them feels proud of your growth, another part aches because they know they are no longer central to your story. Regret has a strange way of arriving. It rarely comes during the moments people expect. It often appears quietly, long after the damage has already been done. Sometimes it arrives while hearing a song that reminds them of you. Sometimes it appears in the middle of ordinary moments when they suddenly remember your laugh or the way your presence made difficult days feel lighter. And sometimes regret arrives when they realize they are searching for pieces of you in people who could never truly compare. They begin noticing how rare emotional connection really is. Genuine understanding is rare, loyalty is rare, patience is rare, and losing someone who offered those things sincerely becomes a lesson they carry for a very long time. There was a period when they convinced themselves you would always remain emotionally available to them. They assumed your care was permanent. They mistook your kindness for something guaranteed instead of something precious. But people eventually grow tired of being undervalued. Even the most patient hearts reach a point where they choose themselves. That is the moment they failed to recognize while it was happening. They did not notice how much strength it took for you to finally let go. They did not understand that your silence was not bitterness. It was healing. It was self-respect. It was you learning how to stop pouring love into places where it was not fully protected. Now your absence teaches them what your presence once tried to, and lessons learned through loss often stay with people forever. There are moments when they wonder whether things could have turned out differently if they had been more emotionally honest, more attentive, more willing to grow beside you, instead of expecting you to wait for them endlessly. Those thoughts stay with them because deep down they know the connection mattered. Some relationships change people permanently. They alter the way someone views love, trust, and emotional intimacy. You became one of those life-changing connections for them, whether they admit it openly or not. The painful part is not simply losing access to you. It is realizing someone else may eventually receive the version of you they once had the chance to cherish. Someone else may understand your value immediately. Someone else may recognize your heart without needing distance to create clarity. And that thought forces them to confront their own missed opportunity. They understand now that love requires presence. It requires emotional courage. It requires recognizing someone's worth before life teaches that lesson through separation. Still, despite everything, your growth was never meant to revolve around proving your value to anyone. Your healing was not meant to become a punishment for another person. It was meant to become freedom for you. The strongest version of yourself was born through experiences that forced you to choose self-respect over emotional attachment. Every disappointment shaped your understanding of what you deserve. Every difficult goodbye taught you how to protect your energy more carefully. And every moment you spent rebuilding yourself in silence became part of the reason you carry yourself differently today. People often underestimate quiet transformation because it happens gradually. There is no dramatic announcement, no instant shift. Just small decisions repeated consistently, choosing peace over chaos, choosing healing over resentment, choosing growth over remaining emotionally stuck in the past. That is how you became stronger, not through revenge, not through bitterness, but through finally realizing your life could not remain paused, waiting for someone else to recognize your worth. Ironically, that is often when recognition arrives. People begin to notice your value once you stop trying to convince them to see it. Confidence changes the way the world responds to someone. Healing changes the way they carry themselves. And emotional maturity creates a kind of presence that naturally draws respect from others. They notice this shift in you now. They see how differently you move through life. They see the calmness you developed after surviving emotional storms that once nearly broke you, and somewhere deep inside themselves, they understand they contributed to the lessons that shaped you into who you are becoming. But this story is not really about revenge or proving someone wrong. It is about growth. It is about understanding that people sometimes fail each other because they are emotionally unprepared, not because love never existed. It is about recognizing that timing matters, maturity matters, self-awareness matters. Some people only realize what they had after life removes it from their reach long enough for perspective to develop. That realization can be painful, but pain often becomes the beginning of accountability and change. Perhaps one day they will speak honestly about everything they never fully admitted. Perhaps one day they will acknowledge the fear, confusion, or emotional immaturity that kept them from showing up the way they should have. Or perhaps they will simply carry the lesson quietly within themselves forever. Not every realization leads to reconciliation. Sometimes it simply leads to growth. Sometimes people are meant to teach each other something important, even if they are not destined to remain together permanently. What matters most now is not whether they regret losing you. What matters is that you no longer measure your value through another person's ability to recognize it. Your worth existed before their realization, and it continues existing, whether they fully understand it or not. Healing begins the moment people stop waiting for external validation to confirm what they already know inside themselves. And somewhere, in the quiet moments when the world slows down and memories become impossible to ignore, they are likely thinking about the version of you they once knew and the version of you they never expected to become. Stronger, wiser, more grounded, more certain of your direction. They may wonder what life would look like if they had chosen differently, if they had appreciated your loyalty sooner, if they had matched your emotional depth instead of resisting it. Those questions may remain with them for a long time, but your story does not end in regret. It continues in growth, in peace, in rediscovering yourself beyond heartbreak. The future waiting for you is not defined by who failed to value you properly in the past. It is shaped by the lessons you carried forward and the strength you gained through surviving experiences that once felt impossible to overcome. Every step you take now belongs to a version of yourself that understands love more clearly, boundaries more confidently, and self-worth more deeply than before. And perhaps that is the real transformation here. Not that someone finally